So let me ask you a question. Do you think that our country is headed in a negative direction? That is a question that Gallup Polls has been asking people for over 40 years now. And do you know somewhere roughly around 2 out of 3 people for 40 years have said, yes, our country is moving in a negative direction. The only exemption to that is a 4-month period following 9/11. For 4 months after 9/11, people said, I think we're headed in a positive direction. And you know why? Because people put down all of their differences. They put down church denomination barriers. They put down separation of church and state. They put down all of their political arguments and said, you know what, we need to come together to make a difference. Several years ago, I remember when it came out here in Leesburg that we had 3 F schools, and the community was in an uproar. There was a community meeting called down at the community building, and it was packed with all kinds of people that want to do something, that want to make a difference, that we need to do something. And yet, honestly, coming out of that meeting, the majority of people I've talked to said, you know, there were no real answers, just a bunch of want to. And it was that moment when I felt inspired to begin to pray and ask God, what is a practical way for us to come together and make a difference? What is some kind of simple way to where before tragedy happens, that it doesn't have to be tragedy inspired, that we could bring people together to bring hope, to serve, to make a difference. And that's when Love Week and Love My City was birthed. About 6 years ago, we started Love My City, and it was simply this idea. What if 5,000 people would come together for 1 week and serve the community? What would happen? What kind of economic difference can we make? What kind of emotional difference can we make? Because most people, when they look at their city, their community, they have a tendency to think negatively. We've seen that for 40 years of Gallup polls. There's an interesting law. It's the law of entropy in science. And it says that things will go from a state of order to a state of disorder unless some kind of force brings order to it. And isn't that true of our community? Isn't that true of our area? And so, Love My City. Love My City, the idea is this. Love, the first word, is an action and service word. To love takes a sacrifice. The second word is my. My is ownership. That I no longer look at all the things around me as someone else's issue, but I look at it as mine. This is mine. There's a narrative going on, a story around us, but I recognize I'm one of the narrators. I have a part to play in the story and writing that story. And then city is actually a term that's derived from another word, and that is citizen. See, it's actually about people. So the idea of Love My City is that I would self-sacrificing take responsibility for the other people around me. And so we want to invite you to become part of Love My City and Love Week. And so upcoming, there will be all kinds of service projects. One of the examples of that is that we'll be working at the different schools in this area to just, whatever they need, fix park benches or paint or whatever. And the only thing that the paint does is makes it look new, changes people's perspective, changes the narrative in their head, and changes the fact that they might see things a little bit more positive or a little bit differently. And so let me invite you to consider being a part of Love My City, and specifically Love Week as it comes this February, and serving our community.